Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Feeling Lighter podcast. I'm Coach Tyler, and I'm here with Dr. Lisa, who sometimes I didn't even try to make her laugh on that one. There was like a pause that I did there.
There was a pause. Like, I didn't think
Feeling
you remember
podcast.
where you were. That's what I was
Where am I?
Yeah. Welcome to the...
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, well, welcome. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving when you're listening to this. And so we wanted to do a special episode today on gratitude, on thankfulness, on giving thanks, because not only are both Lisa and I really into gratitude, I'm a huge fan of expressing that, but I think there's also some dangers to the gratitude recommendations that some people give. So we want to make sure to highlight those as well, because it's really easy to get swept up in that and forget that gratitude does not mean not feeling pain or sorrow or these other things as well.
Or anger.
Yeah, or anger, exactly. Well, maybe we start there. What has gratitude meant for you? How does it show up in your life? And what are you grateful for, Lisa?
Ooh,
there you go.
Great question.
We'll just let you take the rest of the episode.
I know. I'm like, what else will there be to talk about?
Yeah.
No. So gratitude is super important to me. It is what I have identified as the way to really enjoy my life. It's about perspective shifting. So I can look at the things and the struggles I've been through and be like, wow, that was really hard. That was really sad. But I'm also grateful for X, Y, and Z. And that has carried me, the vast majority of my life. I recognize that there is a level to which sometimes avoiding the realities of the tragedy can feel a little toxic and just like, just find the good and be happy. Like that's not realistic always. But I'm very, very deeply embedded in gratitude. We were talking earlier about, I know neither of us are churchgoers at this point in our lives, but gospel music being so impactful and important and still something that, we lean into. And I know for me, there's a song called Grateful. And I'm drawing a blank on who the singer is, but it's a choir. And literally, most of the song is them just saying, grateful, 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 like the whole time. Yeah. But it's gratefulness in my soul, in my heart. And it's such a beautiful reminder. Every time I hear it, I cry because I really am grateful. And I've had a lot of darkness and ugliness. I've lost a lot of really wonderful people, important people in my life, lost some relationships that were really important. But I still find space for gratitude. And that is, I think it is the difference between letting the circumstances of your life and the circumstances of the world. Let's be very clear. Yeah. We live in the United States. There's a lot of stuff to be scared about, worried about, and afraid about. But sometimes when we let all the darkness overtake us, then, that can lead us to feeling very depressed and not being able to enjoy and appreciate our lives. So gratefulness is healing, but it's also a way to acknowledge the good and be able to utilize the bad in a way that spurs us to something better. So I'm grateful for a lot. I'm grateful to be here today. I'm grateful, for this relationship that I have with you, with WeShape, with this team. I'm grateful for the work that I get to do. I don't know a whole lot of people that love their job and that their job is rooted in their passion. And I know I'm among a small percentage of people, so I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful to be a mom with 3 kids who are taller than me essentially now. And
doesn't take much.
Shut up. I'm grateful.
Are you grateful for my sense of humor?
No, actually, that didn't make the list. Of course. But no, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that I chose the best friends in the world. I have amazing friends, people around me that pour into me, that love me. And I feel very privileged to live the life that I live, despite the fact that it is clearly imperfect. And there are tons of things that I experience anger and stress and frustration around. But I do feel like in many ways my life is very charmed, very blessed, very, very beautiful. And I don't take it for granted even a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. This really brings up something that I think a lot of people struggle with when it comes to gratitude. And I think that we think we need to find these big, grandiose things in our life that we're grateful for.
Yeah.
Right? I know a lot of people struggle with negative thinking. They have, the inner critic is going crazy. Circumstances in their life are making them feel really sad. And they feel like they can't be grateful for anything. And one of the things that we try to teach people inside WeShape is if you can't find anything to be grateful for, anything you like about yourself, then pause for a second. Maybe be grateful that you woke up today.
Right.
Because a lot of people didn't.
Yep.
There's been 100 billion or more people on the planet, and you're here now. And that is something to be grateful for, that you are living this life.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath in. And be grateful for that. Be grateful for the air that you breathe, right? And I know it sounds silly, but sometimes we need to go back to the basics like that.
And it sounds like these are the small things, but they're actually very big.
Yeah, big things, yeah,
to be alive
true.
and to breathe is huge, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't be here having this conversation, so
Yeah,
that's
100%.
important.
And you also brought up something, too, that I feel like is worth talking about here, which is sometimes, like anything, gratefulness can be blown out of proportion, right? And I think people think that the goal of a gratefulness practice is to only experience joy and gratitude in your life.
Yeah.
And nothing could be further from the truth, because you do not control the circumstances that happen in your life, or at least you don't control a ton of them.
No.
You control your reaction to those circumstances. So gratefulness isn't the end goal. It's the bridge between what you experience and how you integrate that experience into your life.
Absolutely.
Right? And so a great example is someone can be really mean to you throughout your life. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it was your spouse, maybe it was your siblings, maybe it was other people in your school, maybe they treated you like crap, they just knocked your self-esteem through the floor, and you're in this position where you just don't have a lot of self-esteem. What we got to do in that moment is recognize that you are worthy just as you are.
Absolutely.
You are awesome. You're doing your best. Like, take a moment. Like, really feel that. You're doing your best. I'm showing up and I'm doing my best. And I deserve to be taken care of. I deserve to feel love. I deserve to feel like I am allowed to take care of myself. And if we can genuinely feel that way, that love, eventually it becomes self-love, right? The ability to treat ourselves nicely, the ability to have compassion for ourselves, the ability to be kind to ourselves. And if you can fully love yourself right now, then all of the experiences that you are not grateful for right now transform. They transform from anger and hate and frustration to gratefulness, because everything that led you to where you are today is what led you to that self-love.
Yeah.
And so by nature, you have to be grateful for all those things. Now, I want to point out something really clear here, because we often associate pain and grief and sadness and heartbreak with not gratitude, right? This is not gratitude if we're sad about something. That's not true.
No.
Okay? Pain does not mean not being grateful, because when we're sad about something, we said this before, when we're sad about something, when we're grieving something, the reason why that's happening is because of the love that we had around that. When someone you love passes away, you grieve because of how much you love them. This is still rooted in love, and you're grieving because of how grateful you were that they were a part of your life. And so it's really important to remember, like, gratefulness can be done in grief if we recognize that the reason why that grief is happening is because of love.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think
it's so hard for people to do.
It is. And I think you can be grateful for a situation, but it doesn't make you necessarily okay with or forgiving of or willing to engage in relationship with people that have caused you harm.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to go back.
Yeah,
right?
that's the key.
Yeah.
You know, in my own experiences,
I'm grateful for my abusive partner. I should probably go back to that partner.
No, absolutely
not.
not. And that's exactly where I was going. I left a situation where there was a lot of emotional and financial abuse and a lot of heartache and pain. And I am grateful for the years of marriage that I experienced and what came from it. I am grateful for what I learned and how I grew and developed. But I am in no way interested in ever being in a relationship with that man again, and I hold firm to that. So gratefulness does not come in the absence of boundaries, in the absence of sustaining yourself, in the absence of, creating clear pathways to move forward where you don't put yourself back in harm's way. And so that, again, sort of a misnomer, I think, sometimes when people think you're grateful and forgiving and so wonderful that you put yourself back in a position to be harmed and hurt. We utilize these experiences in our lives, hopefully to teach us so that we get some lesson out of them, but also so that we move differently, going forward, so we don't have to keep putting ourselves in positions where people can, take advantage of us and hurt us and harm us. And, maintaining the ability to be open and love, that's important. But just, maybe being a little bit wiser and catching things sooner. That's another benefit that I'm super grateful for after going through, something so traumatic like that. So
I just want to say, if this is sounding crazy to you, right? Like, oh my God, you're going to be grateful for all the mean things people did to you and all the bad circumstances that happened because it shaped you and you really love yourself right now. That's fine. Yeah. We could try it a different way, right? Which is, I think that everybody's had this experience where something bad happens. Okay, I'll give you an example in my own life. I start my fitness journey out. I have no self-confidence. I am not in quote-unquote good shape, and I'm going to the gym to change that. That's my story. And I start seeing some progress. I'm doing all the bodybuilding stuff, normal things that things happen. And then one day I'm riding my bike home, and I get hit by a car. And next thing you know, I'm in a wheelchair for 3 months. And as soon as I start trying to go back to doing things again, I realize I can't do those same things, right? If you have had your femur destroyed and your cartilage and your knee destroyed, and then you go and do a leg extension machine, especially when you didn't have good rehabilitation, it's going to feel really bad. And that's what happened to me. And I was really mad about that, as you can imagine. Woe is me. I'm the victim. This is so horrible. I was just on the right path and blah, 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 blah. Well, I used that pain to go, there's got to be a different way.
Right.
And as luck would have it, I actually got a settlement from that accident. And I used a lot of that to travel around the country and train with some of the people that became my early mentors in fitness. And I would have never had the opportunity to train with that caliber of people had I not had those resources that came from that accident. And lo and behold, that served me so well in my life. I was gifted with more injuries that I had to learn about over time, which now I'm grateful for all of them. I really am. But again, that circumstance started with something negative. And I think we've all had that experience. Started with something that we perceive as like, this is horrible, woe is me, I'm the victim. And if we can zoom out with a long enough time horizon, we can start to realize that everything is happening for us, not to us. It's happening for us. And something I teach my kids is everything in your life happens for a good reason. And it's your responsibility to find that reason. And that last part, I feel like, changes the phrase. I've heard a lot of people say everything happens for a reason, for a good reason. But your responsibility to find that reason sets your brain up to start looking for the reason why this happened in your life.
That's a new one for me, Tyler. I don't have to sit with that because I don't know if I want that work. I'm just being honest. I think, growing up religious, the idea is everything happens for a reason and you won't necessarily know the reason. And that unknown is also super uncomfortable. But I don't know. I don't know which one I relate to more, to be honest, that it's my job to figure it out or that I might not ever figure it out. That's
I want to be clear. Like, when I say that, I'm not like opening up books and doing research to try and figure this out.
What was the reason?
What happens for me now is this. Something challenging happens, and I remind myself that everything in my life is happening for a reason, a good reason. And it's my responsibility to find that reason. I let that go. I don't try to look for the reason right then.
Gotcha.
And I keep letting life unfold.
You remain open to hear it.
Years, sometimes decades pass.
Oh, gosh.
And I look back and go, there it was. There it was.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, everything in my life, where I'm at in WeShape, where I'm at in my relationship, where I'm at as a parent, where I live, everything in my life, I feel like is almost been pre-planned to a certain degree. It's like, I'm here for a reason. When you can get really comfortable with what exists already, that starts to feel that way. And man, every bad thing that happens to me ends up being a really great thing in the long run. And I know it's hard. When we lose people that we love, when we have injuries that we didn't expect, financial crises, relationship issues, health issues for your kids, your parents, yourself, your friends. That stuff's heavy. That stuff's heavy. But everything that you experience is guiding you more towards a loving version of yourself. Right?
Yeah, and who you're supposed to be. Okay, I get with that.
Yeah.
I can relate to
Yeah.
that. I feel that way. That's actually.
You were like, I'm supposed to do some Google searches on like, this happened to me. Why is this happening
It was feeling
to me?
very much like a directive and more work. But
No, you got to let it go.
let
and
it go.
unfold
You just
and
let it
your
come
body-
to you.
Yeah, let it
you
find
let it
reason.
come to you. I appreciate that. That's actually, again, back to the upbringings in church. One of my favorite scriptures is Romans 8:28, and it's all things work together for the good. And at the end of the day, it's like you said, everything that's happening is not happening to me before me. It's going to benefit me in some way in the long run, somewhere, even when I don't quite understand it, because it contributes to the person that I become. And that is the purpose. That is the push. That is the work that we're doing on this earth. So I get you. I relate.
Here's the thing, like if we've all had that experience, like everybody here who's listening has had that experience. Something bad, quote unquote bad is happened to you, and then whatever time frame later you've realized why that happened. It shaped you in some way that was really formidable to you, maybe finding greater senses of self-love or authenticity or whatever. And you could probably have like a bunch of those. If you sit and meditate on that, you'll probably think of a lot of things. Think about all the bad stuff in your life and think about where that path led you, right? I got another story for you. Right? So I go in to get my heart scanned on this heart scan, calcified artery scan, with my father-in-law, because we were just, hey, let's make sure our hearts are okay. He's like, whatever, he's like 30-something years older than me. And his scan comes out. We're all holding our breath. And they're like, clean as a whistle. And this is a while ago. This is like almost 10 years ago. My scan comes out, and he goes, you have a lot of calcified arterial plaque. And I was like, oh, my God. Like, I can't believe this. I'm like literally 30 years old at the time. And I'm realizing that the way I treated myself growing up, I just ate nothing but, horrible things for my body, is catching up with me already. Right. So something I'm very mindful of these days. But that felt really horrible in the moment. I called one of my friends who was this big wellness influencer and said, I need somebody who can help me through this. I need like somebody good. And she's like, I'll introduce you to this guy. And I'm like, oh, I know this guy, and I know that nobody can get into this guy. And she goes, hey, this is my friend. I want you to see him. And he's like, sure. So I get in with this guy, and I meet him, and he quells a lot of my concerns. He said, listen, this test is testing for calcified arterial plaque, right? People have heart attacks for non-calcified arterial plaque and calcified arterial plaque. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to just die of a heart attack tomorrow.
Right.
Now, why I'm so freaked out about this, I watched my dad have a heart attack in front of me when he was like 50 years old. I was living in his house. I'd come back because I was in a rock band trying to go on tour. Didn't have enough money for rent, so we lived with him for a little while and had a heart attack right in front of my eyes. So that's one of my core fears, I think, that arises over.
Right.
I get a little tweak in my shoulder. Oh, there it goes. My last day on earth, right? That's how I feel over and over again. But to extend this story even further, right? That guy became one of my friends, the doctor who was seeing me at the time. And years later, I was finding myself hitting a lot of obstacles in my life, feeling like I was the problem. And this guy is so chill. He's so mellow. And I said to myself, who is the most mellow person I know? I need somebody who can help me with like meditation or mindfulness or something.
Yeah.
So I texted him, how are you so damn mellow? And he said, I'm going to introduce you to this guy. And that guy ended up being my mindfulness coach and now one of my closest friends. And so like, watch that story.
Yeah.
I went and got my heart scanned and felt like I was going to have a heart attack. I got to meet one of I think one of the best functional doctors in the world, and I got to meet his really good friend, and they both became my friends.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool experience like that.
That is cool.
And so if we can have enough of those experiences, if we can remember enough of those experiences, the next time something bad happens, give yourself a chance to grieve, give yourself a chance to be the victim. Don't just push that away, but know this is happening for me.
Yeah.
Know that something good is going to come out of this. And it helps you through those moments.
It does, yeah. I had a recent experience. This was not my experience, but a dear friend of mine from childhood lost his son to gun violence.
It's going to be one of the worst things to feel, right?
It's so hard for me to accept that any parent should lose their child. It just feels so unfair. And I reached out to him and his wife, and he was, busy getting so many calls, of course, but he called me back, and it was the most fortifying conversation because the gratitude in his voice, and his baby had only been gone a week. But he had already started to tap it. He was hurt, and he cried. That phone call was about 30 minutes long. He cried at least 4 times.
Yeah.
But he was already tapping into the gratitude of the time that he had with that baby and his experiences. And he started talking about our childhood, and he was like, I remember, we both laughed, like how we, like, again, aren't going to church right now, but still have that connection. And he was like, oh, I already know. He was like, you told me when I was a kid, like, come on, you're going with me. And he would be with my family and go to church, and we would just, go to dinner after and talk and pray together. I was a weird little kid, but it was such a beautiful.
When you were like 7?
Literally. I was like 11. Yeah. But it was a beautiful relationship, and talking to him and hearing his gratitude, and he attributed some of it to me, and then to like knowing my grandmother, who was just a fierce praying woman. And he talked about how this was such a hard thing to experience, this loss, this child. Like I said, he cried multiple times, but he was like, I know that this is a part of my purpose, and I'm not, his death isn't going to be in vain. He was like, for a few days, it was just another shooting in the city. And then he did like a talk on the news, and, spoke to the legacy of his son and about the beauty of his mind. And he's like, this is never going to go in vain. This is always going to be something important. And I was just blown away, because I just wanted to be mad. Like, when I found out the way that the boy died, I just wanted to be angry. I wanted to say, who was it? What are they doing? What's the next step? And I just wanted to jump into like take action mode. And not that there's anything wrong with that if something like that happens, and that's where you go initially. But I was so impressed by his sense of gratitude and his sense of hope for what this is going to do to enhance the future of other people's lives by telling this story. So it just reminded me of that. And it was so hard. And I just sat mostly in silence listening to him sort of work through that process. But I was so impressed that gratefulness was so accessible to him in that short window of time since losing his oldest son.
Yeah, I love that. And you bring up something that I've had an intuition or experience about in my own meditations, which is, the first place we want to go is anger and rage, right? But people stifle themselves from going there. And to me, it stifles this process I'm about to share, which is, underneath anger is grief, is sadness, right? We're angry that something didn't go the way we wanted it to go. Mm-hmm. So we have to express that anger in order to get to the grief and the sadness. Underneath grief and sadness is acceptance. Mm-hmm. And it's a very neutral feeling, like it is what it is, right? But you don't have to have the grief and the pain and stuff anymore, and you've pass through the anger as well. And that comes in waves, by the way, not on one shot.
It's never linear.
Underneath acceptance is forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And if we can learn how to forgive these challenging circumstances, then we can be free. Because remember, forgiveness isn't for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. Mm-hmm. Underneath forgiveness, we have gratitude. Mm-hmm. We have
right back to
gratefulness for the experiences that we had and what we got to go through. Underneath gratitude, we have joy. Mm-hmm. And underneath joy, we have peace. And then the cycle starts all over again on something else.
I love that.
And I think it's so important to not run away from anger or pain, because it is the door that you have to open to eventually go through those other doors.
Yep,
I think a lot of people get stuck. They don't go very far. But it sounds like your friend there opened a lot of doors real fast and was able to go through them.
Yeah, he's moving.
Which gives a lot more peace. Yeah. What a horrible experience. But yeah, I think why gratitude is so important, why we're talking about it, and why we do it so much in our lives is your life is not the things that happen to you. Your life is your interpretation of the things that happen to you, your perception of the things that happen to you. And again, gratitude is the bridge between circumstances and how you experience those circumstances. And if you don't choose gratitude, you got to choose something else. Maybe it's hate, rage, anger, something like that. And you get stuck, and that experience then becomes just that. And I know you've heard this phrase, but energy goes where attention flows, right?
Yeah.
And if we constantly focus on being a victim and the negativity and the anger and the rage, then our life will feel like that.
Yeah.
It will feel negative. If we are able to find a way through that, not ignore it, not pretend like it doesn't exist, find a way through that, let it flow through us, then we can come back to feeling gratitude for those circumstances.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for a lot right now. I'm grateful for my kids. They are my greatest teachers. They inspire me to show up for WeShape. These little girls, I want a different world. You know, I don't want these little girls to grow up in a world that says, you should hate yourself unless you look like this. I want them to grow up in a world that says, I deserve to take care of myself and love myself just as I am.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my partner, Katie. We've been through a lot, lots of ups and downs. And WeShape would not be here without Katie. You know, I'm a movement guy, and a lot of that stuff would be there, but she really brought the mental and emotional stuff to WeShape. And if there's anything you learn about being a part of WeShape, it's that the movement stuff is just the tip of the iceberg. And then we bring you into the stuff that's so much more meaningful. And so I'm grateful for Katie for that. I'm grateful for everybody here. You, all the team members, all the people on the calls, all the members. Like, wow, you know, teamwork makes the dream work. And I feel like one step at a time, we're changing the way that people are seeing the fitness industry. And my hope is that a decade from today, we're having a much different conversation in the fitness industry. I don't even care if I'm recognized as a part of it. I just want it to change really badly.
Same.
Grateful for a lot.
Got a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah. And I hope that you listening right now have listened to this and feel like you've got a lot to be grateful for. Even if it's just the breath you take or the fact that you've woken up today, remember that gratitude is the bridge between what we experience and how we integrate that experience into our life. What that really means is you have the choice.
You have the choice.
Yeah. You can live a life filled with gratitude, or you can live a life as a victim filled with anger and rage and all these other things. So, choice is yours.
Choose wisely.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Bye.